Since last Sunday, we've been taking a devotional journey in Matthew's Gospel, journeying to the cross today, and then this coming Sunday on to resurrection. We started last Sunday with a day delighting in messianic promise and praise as Jesus rode on into Jerusalem, and then on to the beautiful thing that Jesus said the woman who anointed him had done for him. And then through darker days of his overwhelming anguish, betrayal, substitution, and now today, looking at the darkest moment of all, his crucifixion. Matthew's account is lengthy. Let me just read a couple of verses from Matthew 27, verses 45 to 46. From noon until 3 p.m, darkness came over the land. And about 3 p.m, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? Jesus is quoting the Psalm 22, and in that Psalm, Jesus' ancestor, 1,000 years before, inspired by the Holy Spirit, speaks not only about his own situation, but prophetically about Jesus' own experience. In fact, the dividing of Jesus' clothes by lot is also mentioned in that psalm by David. But how does the Son of God end up literally God-forsaken? Well, for that, we have to go back from that ugly hilltop scene to a beautiful garden. From a time God walked away from a man to a time when he walked toward and with mankind. You know, the Bible is clear. God created all this. And he did it because he wanted us to share in relationship with him, to share in that overflowing love and joy and mutuality and other-centeredness that he already enjoyed and experienced between the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. We were made to walk with him in relationship, creator and creation in perfect peace, in that shalom that the Bible talks, that rich idea of complete wholeness in all things. Shalom between us and God, between us and creation, between us relationally and within us internally. But we, humanity, our progenitors, Adam and Eve, decided to walk away from that, turn their backs on God, which the Bible calls sin, and that changed everything. The wholeness in all things became brokenness in all things. Sin affected everything between us and God, between us and creation, between us relationally and within us internally. Death ruined everything. Satan disrupted everything. And we were cast out of relationship with God within the garden. The angels posted to prevent us going back. But even in the midst of that, he made a promise that there was a plan, that he would repair our relationship even better than it had been. And so he chose a people to help learn to walk again with him. And over many generations, he took them by the hand from the infancy of their understanding, showing them over time who he was, what the problem was, and how he would ultimately deal with it. And a tabernacle became a temple, and in the temple there were symbols of what were once enjoyed and what he longed for, to enjoy his presence and fellowship with him. And also was given the means of forgiveness for that relationship and reconciliation, costly sacrifice, a substitute in our place. And all along the walls of the temple were images of a garden, of a time when we walked with him, talked with him, were at peace with him. And at the end of the temple, there was a thick curtain with huge angels embroidered on it, a stark reminder that we were still kept out from that closest presence. That all these things, wonderful and full of hope as they were but a shadow of what had once been in the garden, but also a shadow of what was to come in answer to the promise that was made. And then there was a time when there was silence. 400 years since the last prophet had spoken. And then, all of a sudden, like the sun rising in the east, a light dawned. The promise made in the garden was being fulfilled. Jesus, God and man, come to sort out once and for all the problem between man and God. In him was now the actual meeting place with God, where once there was only symbols in the temple are now made reality in him. The actual presence of God, the actual fellowship with him, the actual true high priest who was able to come and actually help us to be able to walk with God again. And on that barren hilltop, outside the city, he came to be the actual once-for-all costly sacrifice for the atonement of all our sins from the beginning right through to the end, from the garden till he returns again, paying the price for our redemption, making the means of our reconciliation, a pathway to the peace in all things that we long for, taking the punishment for our justification. He became the substitute in our place. This God-man in his humanity, representing us in his divinity, making that representation of infinite worth. God comes serving his own just pronouncement for sin on himself, God taking on himself the punishment that we deserve. And when it was finished, when it was completed, the curtain in the temple that had kept us out of his closest presence was torn in two, because on the cross, Jesus was cast out so that we could be brought in. He was forsaken so that we could be forgiven. He was walked away from so we could once again walk with him and to him, now and forever, sharing with him all that love and that joy and that creativity and honoring and beautiful character and peace that they share in themselves. On the cross, he changed everything.